Let me point out something about most enlightened people. The people that we yield to, pay attention to, want to hear more from because they sound so deep. Most of these people have had very difficult lives, have found themselves homeless, and along their paths of addictions and loneliness and suffering is when they found peace. What's wrong with most people, especially in the Western world, is that you think everybody is your business. You think that your family is your business. You think the people you pass on the street are your business. You have been conditioned by philosophies and institutions that it is your business to mind other people's business. And I am saying very oftentimes, you do far more harm by interceding in people's business. You want to intercede, do it spiritually. But to go and interrupt a person's process while they are going through it is usually just delaying their pain, and they may or may not get back on track. Does that mean that you can't help people along the way? I'm not saying that at all. What I am saying, that maybe it's time for you to sit back in whatever suffering you're in, and especially suffering because of somebody else's decisions in life or what somebody else that you love might be doing. You might need to take a chill pill and allow their processes to work themselves out. Oftentimes, we interject ourselves to minimize our own pain when they are on their path of enlightenment and on a path that will take them to a place of enlightenment that you may never know. Sometimes we interrupt processes, don't know how to mind our business, and stop what's going on with others and increase our own suffering and theirs. Might be a tough pill to swallow. I don't mind administering it. If you're ready to talk about that, that's where I'm going today. Hi, my name is Zara, and I'm glad you're here. Every single person is born with a path of purpose. I know that there are a lot of people in life and have always been on a journey to find their purpose. Here's what that's meant up until now, since people have been in search of their purpose, because there was a time when people were not in search of their purpose. People were enlightened enough to know that each of us are born differently with different gifts and with different things to overcome. And then came the dawn of civilization. And particularly in the Western world, where we have all of these institutions now that are cornerstones in our lives that were not there before, that we now have our educational system that then gives purpose to people in a way that they can now feel a purpose and feel validated for their being, for their humanness, for something they have contributed to the civilization. And I'm telling you that all of this is stuff that has been created by man. That is what makes you feel better about yourself in a moment, but it is not the purpose for which you came. And until you get out of this man-made, created mindset of what your purpose is and the purposes for which you came and the things that you came to overcome, because we all came to learn and grow. So we all have things that are going to be difficult in our lives. And we all have a level of suffering that we're all going to go through. Now, if you've been with me throughout the years, there were times when I would say things like, suffering is optional. Don't you ever let anybody hold you to where you were. You have permission to learn and grow. Well, that's when I was carving out and creating my world and trying to control every aspect of it. And now I'm in a space where I realize that it is about learning and growing through the difficult experiences that continue to show up in my life that we actually refer to as shadows. So those things that continue to show up in life are not to run away from, are not to try and control. They are indeed to sit your ass down, get quiet, embrace that thing, sit with that thing and let it teach you. Because if you don't do that, then life continues to bring you the same stuff over and over again. And until you sit with it, transmute it, get the gift out of it, because every shadow has naturally embedded in it a gift. When you sit with the shadow long enough to understand what it came to teach you, you overcome that. Then the gift is uncovered. You will see the gift in that shadow. You will see that it's been there all along. You will see that there is something that you naturally do that you did not see before. When you live in that gift, then life gets easier. That suffering subsides. And you'll see within that thing, there was a level of mastery just waiting for you to embrace the shadow, not run from it, not cuss it out, not numb it, not dismiss it, not get mean with everybody else about it, not blame, not shame, not do all of this external stuff, when the answer is to sit with it so that you can learn what it means to embrace the space you're in with the things that show up to you, so you can learn to alchemize them. You can transmute every pain, every suffering, if you will embrace what it came to teach you. But a lot of parents, a lot of people have been told that it is their responsibility to stop other people's pain and to stop other people's suffering when we came for a level of it. It doesn't mean that you are to suffer in all of life. And I know that for some of you, that's what you've been doing. Well, you've got to at some point sit back and say, what is this? You've got to learn something different so you can expect different things, start doing different things, and life can present you with different stuff. Our society teaches against things that are the very things that will lead you to your next level, like being alone. Loneliness and being alone are not the same things. I spend most of my time by myself. I am never lonely. And I don't do that because people don't want to be with me. Child, it is my natural aura to attract. I could be in a theater by my damn self, 2,000 seats, and people come in. They're coming to sit right next to me because that is my aura. I am a magnet. I attract people. I've come to understand a whole lot about that. I've come to understand that a lot of the suffering in my life was actually me needing to sit with the pain of those things in order to know where my gifts lie. For some of us, that pain comes from people, and that pain comes from people that you would not expect that pain to come from. But even they have purpose. They came for a purpose. And if we attach good and bad to all the things that people do, then we'll never be able to just allow things to be, learn from them, and actually thank them for their contribution to leading you to that space of enlightenment, which is exactly where I am. I am saying thank you to the people in my life for a time when I was like, how in the hell can you say you love me? How could you hold this role in my life and cause me so much pain? Now, I'm in such a space of gratitude for what they were willing to do in this lifetime. Honey, they came and played that role exceptionally well. So many of you have a difficult time believing. All of us are filled with darkness and light, and there is a spectrum of it in each and every one of us. If you can't accept that about yourself, then you'll never accept that about others. You know it about yourself, so then you use things like God and religion and other stuff and demons and all that other stuff in order to categorize other people with all that, when you have as much darkness in you as the person who has done the most hideous thing on the face of the planet. And until you are able to accept that about yourself, then your light is limited. I form light and create darkness. I make well-being and create calamity. I am the Lord who does all these things. I create the light and make the darkness. I send good times and bad times. I, the Lord, am the one who does these things. How many different versions I got to give you? We each have good, bad, and ugly. And I've been saying that for years. People are able to accept that they have ugly. But if I say that ugly is actually their darkness, then they have trouble because we've been programmed with so much of what that means. We've got to stop labeling stuff, labeling people, labeling what they do, and just allow it to be. One of the things that I am personally bothered by is how we address people and their addictions. Buckle up, goddammit. Most people ain't ready for this shit, but here we go. When every person is pre-programmed for addiction, that's part of how we learn who we are in this world. So placing extra burdens of suffering on people who are already going through their own addictions is just ignorant, is ignorance. You don't know any better because you've been conditioned that it's a disease and that all addiction is just wrong. Well, no, some of you think there are good addictions. Listen, whether it's good, bad, ugly, indifferent, only the person going through it gets to decide that. You don't get to decide what is happening in somebody else's life. A lot of times, addictions are people's paths to enlightenment. I'm not saying enable them through it. I am saying support them from a distance if you need to. But shaming them? Let me explain something to you. On the emotional scale, shame is the absolute lowest vibration. If you can keep people in shame, you can keep them from their brilliance. Now, let's think about shame and sin. See, because if you believe in sin, then automatically you buy into shame. And when people are ashamed of something, it's easy for you to say, well, they sinned, they ought to be ashamed. Y'all, I'm telling you, that religious indoctrination is some trickery. It's some trickery. They're spells. If people are embarrassed, if you can get people to be embarrassed by something that they've done, then that level of embarrassment will keep them in such shame that they never rise above it. If you look at that from the spectrum of darkness and light, they stay in that darkness, they get in depression, and they will never come out of it and see the light of day. They'll never come out of it, see the gift in the shadows of where they were in order to live, in order to reach levels of mastery. Let me take that a little deeper. There is no baby you have ever met that felt shame because we don't come here with that emotion. That is an external thing. Somebody makes us feel ashamed or wiggle their fingers at us and tell us we should be ashamed. And it is in that moment that we are able to anchor the feeling to know when we feel it again, and it continues to grow. So every person needs to know that their disappointment in somebody equals shame to them when they care about the person who is distributing shame. Most of the people walking around in addictions are walking in shame. And I'm saying stop shaming people for what you call an addiction, which is their path to enlightenment. If you can tweak your understanding to know that that is just their path to enlightenment, not destruction, enlightenment. Everything is about how you view it. And if you want to help them and intercede, view them in their enlightenment, not destruction. That's how you help the people you say you love. If you can do that energetically, then you can change how you view them, what you send to them. That's how you send light. That's how you send goodness and light and love to people. Not through shame, not embarrassment. Who are you to be embarrassed for somebody else's path. That is their path. Mama, daddy, sister, brother. We've all had situations that somebody else would say we ought to be ashamed of. There is nothing for you to be ashamed of. Nothing. You're always doing all you know to do. You came here to learn and grow. If you leave people with room to learn and grow instead of just living in shame, they will get to that space of enlightenment a lot quicker. They can get to that space of enlightenment instead of living in that space of darkness that keeps them embarrassed, in shame, and living in destruction. And depending on what that addiction is, for a lot of you who are ashamed of people who go to another realm, sweetheart, they go to another realm because they are suffering on this realm. And a lot of times that other realm is exactly where they find peace. Ooh, child, a lot of y'all really ain't ready for this, but here we go. And for many people, they have learned to merge these worlds away from others in spaces of loneliness by themselves, and they have reached points of enlightenment. I'm saying leave people alone. Let people mind their own business. I'm not telling you to enable people, but I am telling you to leave people on their own paths of purpose because we all came here with our own. If you leave people alone, most of the time they'll find their way. Don't enable, support from afar. Allow people to live. Most people are not your business. And the worst thing you can do is to shame somebody because they are not living the way you want them to live. That's all I have for you today. It's your life. Choose it just as it is. Own it. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Change it. As long as you can breathe and learn, it can get better. Now take that same thing I just said and I'll apply it to everybody else's lives. It's their life. Let them choose it just as it is. Own it, the good, bad, and ugly. And let them change it when they are ready. Because they ain't your business. Tough pill to swallow, I know. Especially if you're a mama or daddy. But leave your children alone so they can find their own way and want to be around you someday.